And now, the general weather around Alaska.
Welcome to Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan, coming to you from the National Weather Service on this Monday, September 25th, 2023. If you'd like additional weather information on top of what I provide in this YouTube broadcast, you can go to weather.gov. That is the National Weather Service's online presence. It'll bring you to a map of the continental U.S. with Alaska, Hawaii, the lower left, and all of the territories that you can click on tabs. It'll bring up a forecast for anywhere you point and click on this map, along with any relevant watches, warnings, or advisories. Fairly quiet now across the lower 48 this Monday afternoon. We're seeing improving conditions along the mid-Atlantic after the tropical storm that impacted that area late last week and early in the weekend. We have fire weather issues out parts of southeast Oregon, northeast California, red flag warnings there, and then some moderate to heavier rainfall, flood watches there along the portions of the northern California and southwest Oregon coast. Here in Alaska, of note today, the weather's been relatively quiet statewide. However, Shishaldin volcano continues to be active. We're in this eruption sequence, and right now we had an eruption that took off earlier this Monday morning and continues to spew ash and gas as high as 38,000 feet. I'll show you that in a moment. Another coronal mass ejection from the sun could arrive at some point this evening or overnight tonight, and could enhance high altitude auroras. So keep your eyes peeled if skies are clear in your location. There will be an area of low pressure out in the southeastern Gulf that'll bring some moderate to locally heavy rain and gale force winds to the southern panhandle as we go into tomorrow, especially Wednesday. And then the full harvest moon occurs very early Friday morning, September 29th. So the amount of moonlight will be increasing. Could make for a little washing out there of the aurora if skies are clear here in the next few nights. But here is a significant meteorological advisory for this volcanic ash, the SIGMET for Shishaldin here. It's out toward the tip of the Alaska Peninsula, far eastern Aleutians, especially around areas of Cold Bay, False Pass. The plume of gas and ash went as high as, is forecast as high as 38,000 feet, so that would impact aviation in this area. It's moving southeastward, east-southeastward at about 50 knots. There will be an update regarding this SIGMET in the early Monday evening time frame, so stay tuned to that if you have any aviation interest here down toward the far eastern Aleutians or down there across the lower Alaska Peninsula. Couple of FAA webcams, beautiful shots here in the interior. Notice the leaves falling off the trees. We're past peak color there in the Yukon Flats. A crisp 42 degrees early afternoon, a number of temperatures in these areas dipping down now mid-teens to near 20 degrees for some chilly early fall temperatures. A beautiful shot here from Sheep Mountain, partly cloudy skies, 42 degrees. You have the Chugach and the Talkeetna Mountains kind of either side of that valley, but just some partly cloudy skies and temperature there as well early this afternoon at 42 degrees. So we do expect an arrival of another coronal mass ejection at some point this evening or overnight, so it could enhance the aurora. Worth taking a peek if skies are clear at your location. And coming up Friday, early Friday morning, just prior to 2 a.m., the full harvest moon at 1:58 a.m. Friday. And this background photo was taken by Bruce Chandler in the Anchorage area last Tuesday early morning, when we had a brief display there of the aurora that was visible even from within the Anchorage Bowl area. So here is what happened over the weekend. We did have a coronal mass ejection arise, and it did enhance the planetary K index upwards above 6 for a time, but it has since fallen back to more quiet conditions. But this could pop back up again perhaps this evening, this Monday evening or Monday night, if that next scheduled CME arrives and does something. But otherwise, we do have a fair amount of clearing across the interior mainland. Here is the low southwest of Haida Gwaii that's going to bring more rain and some gale force winds to the coastal areas of the Panhandle here as we go into tomorrow and Wednesday. There's a couple of other weaker lows, one south of Sand Point, another one kind of just west of St. Matthew, not much to that. Another weak low up here along the northwest Arctic coast, and a little stronger lows going to be moving into the southwest portion of the Bering Sea by the time we get in to especially tonight and tomorrow. So here is the one low down around 967 millibars. So it is somewhat potent, has some pretty good wind around it given the pressure gradient. That low is going to back up into the southeastern Gulf. Meanwhile, weak high pressure, generally speaking, over the mainland is allowing for some clearing. Weak low pressure along the northwest coast will persist as it drifts northeastward up toward Utqiagvik and along the Arctic coast over the next couple of days. This low tends to wash out just south of the eastern Aleutians and the Alaska Peninsula, and this low here just west of St. Matthew will do the same. This will be the other more notable low, not especially strong, but it will be working its way eastward across the Bering Sea the next couple of days. Here's the low pushing up into the southeastern Gulf. This is late tonight, early on Tuesday morning, and by Tuesday afternoon we find the low still southwest west of Haida Gwaii, but the central pressure has come up nearly 20 millibars, so it will not be as strong as it currently is, and then the low out in through the western portion of the Bering will continue to work its way eastward. Here are some of the winds around that low Tuesday afternoon that's coming up into the southeastern Gulf. So there'll be some stronger winds, especially west of Craig as we get into Tuesday afternoon and Tuesday night. Some gale force winds and some breezier conditions in the typical spot when you get west-northwest flow coming out of Kamishak Bay and the entrance there of Cook Inlet. So by Wednesday afternoon, the low there coming up into the eastern Gulf will have filled to just above 1,000 millibars and weaken. We will have the low out here in the central Bering working its way eastward. It'll pass between St. Paul, St. Matthew, Wednesday night, and then push some showers and a little breezier conditions to the YK Delta along the southwest coast, including Kuskokwim and parts of Bristol Bay by the time, especially getting the later Wednesday night and during the day on Thursday. Temperatures, though, early fall-like. We'll have readings in the 40s to near 50 along the Panhandle. Interior areas here of South Central could see some frost again, patchy frost where readings get below freezing, where skies stay clear long enough for that to happen. Daytime highs still 50s to around 60, even 63 there around Craig. But back to the west, even with some sunshine, Tuesday temperatures lower 50s at best most areas. And then again, low temperatures typically below freezing up there in Copper River Basin in the 30s with some patchy frost, Kenai Peninsula around the Anchorage Bowl. But readings still 40s to low 50s there in the Panhandle, and temperatures again 50s to maybe near 60, a few spots the Panhandle Wednesday, but again, generally just staying around or 50 to maybe 54-ish from Kodiak on up through the Kenai Peninsula and along the Gulf Coast. For the interior, normally cold spots along the Brooks Range, easily down into the teens. Some of the Yukon Flat places is cold, as well as around the Alaska Range. Otherwise, just above freezing, Nome, west side of the Seward Peninsula, and temperatures on Tuesday will stay generally in the 30s, North Slope, Arctic coast. 40s elsewhere, pretty common. Notice we're getting past that point now. No more really warm temperatures there at the Yukon Flats. And then Wednesday morning lows, another stripe there of teens along the Brooks Range and isolated teens possible in some of the normally cold spots here in the middle upper Yukon Valley, as well as around the Alaska Range. Many temperatures, though, will be getting near or below freezing across the central northern parts of the state. And daytime highs only in the 30s along the Arctic coast. Brooks Range may struggle to get much above freezing. We'll have readings around or a bit above 40 with mid-40s common along the Yukon Valley all the way from the lower end to Galena on up through Tanana and on up toward the Yukon Flats, as well as much as 44, 45 there at Northway and Eagle. The southwest interior lows, some areas below freezing, especially near the Alaska Range, holding up upper 30s, near 40 at the coast. Lower mid-40s along the Aleutian Chain and the Alaska Peninsula, plus there'll be some cloud cover lingering there. And then daytime highs generally in the 40s, near 50 at best. There'll still be some 50s from Dillingham, King Salmon to Kodiak City, and then back down along the Alaska Peninsula. And temperatures Wednesday morning, again, will be near or below freezing many areas as you go up the Kuskokwim and the lower Yukon River. And then along the Alaska Peninsula and through the Aleutians, we're looking for lows low to mid 40s. And daytime highs still back up lower mid 50s areas along the Alaska Peninsula toward Kodiak Island. But back to the west, still generally readings staying in the 40s. Looking at the temperature outlook, 6 to 10 day outlook, October 1st through the 5th is trending for temperatures to average below normal across the areas along and south of the Alaska Range, south central, especially in through the southeast around Yakutat, Wrangell, St. Elias, with near normal temperatures along the west coast, North Slope, and Arctic coast. Precipitation is forecast to average above normal, though, along the North Slope, Northwest and Arctic coast, and a bit below normal along areas of the Kenai back down through the Alaska Peninsula and Kodiak Island. But the trend for the month of October is for temperatures to average above normal, especially east side of Norton Sound around Shaktoolik on up toward Arctic Village, north and westward, including Nome, Kotzebue, Utqiagvik, Kaktovik, with equal chances or tendency toward near normal temperatures southeast mainland as well as the Panhandle. Precipitation, though, is expected to average above normal along west side of the state from the YK deltas up through Nunavik Island, St. Lawrence, the Seward Peninsula, all along areas of the northwest, including the North Slope and along the Arctic coast, has the best chance of seeing precipitation average above normal through this region, whereas precipitation stands the best chance to be near normal from the Alaska Peninsula up into the central eastern Alaska Range, Fairbanks, Yukon Flats, southeastward across the Panhandle.